is. Oh my goodness, let's check the picture here. Okay, a little early, yeah. Oh yeah, we're quite a bit early. That's okay, we can get started. Hang on a sec, Mookie stepped on the... Mookie, you're just into everything, aren't you? Huh? How you doing with the fleas? He seemed to be okay. Oh my goodness. Coffee. Good morning, everybody. Been a while since I've showed my face on camera. Whew, tired today. What else is new? Anyway, I thought it'd be a good time as any to catch up on the 1982 season. I completed the Sunday games just before I left on vacation with some hopes of doing an update from Morro Bay. Of course, that never happened. Got busy doing other things. So we're going to do one today. Kind of a dreary day in Spokane. It's chilly today. I had the heater on earlier. Kind of weird for almost Memorial Day, right? Memorial Day, the first big barbecue holiday of the season, right? I'm not doing anything this year. Anybody barbecuing? Anybody got any big plans for the weekend? That's normally where I put my coffee, Mookie, but that's okay. You can be there. Kind of nice to have Mookie on cam here, huh? And what is he now? 12. See, June 6th, he'll be 14 months old. So, for those of you who don't know, I do some other projects on the side in addition to the Card and Dice 1966 replay, and one of them is a full season 1982 replay on Windows, where I manage all of the home games and let the computer manage the road teams. I figured that makes it fair because every team will have half of their games managed by me and half of their teams managed by the computer. The computer does some weird things. If you've played the Windows game, you know what I'm talking about. But it's fun. Of course, I have my keeper leagues. I should do a stream one day about all of the leagues I'm in. Let me add them up now. Let's see, there's 5 keeper leagues on Windows, plus a retro keeper league, which we've just started the 1981 season. That season's been going since the early 60s. That league's been going since the early 60s. My team in 1981, it's interesting because I built the team to win in 1980. Won the division, but got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, I think, first or second round. And the 81 team, which I didn't expect to do as well, is off to a 16-4 start, to my pleasant surprise. Anyway, there's that. I could say 5 keeper leagues currently: IBA, MDL, MMDA, NABL, and the Natural League. Most of those leagues have websites. Some use Strat-Draft, some use Flory. Of course, if you're not familiar with any of those things, I'm just talking Greek. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's fun to draft. It's fun to compete. today's game frustrating at times. You know, you've got starting pitchers going 5 innings, and God, you just need so many pitchers now to make it through a season. Bullpens just get worked to death, but such is the nature of the game. What's up, my little friend? Come here. You want to sit on me? Not really. See if he will. Yeah. Call it the Mookie hour. Okay, I want to move the camera into position, and let's take a look at 1982. That means you're going to have to get up. Okay? Yeah, you got to get up. Go get something to eat. Get something to eat. Go ahead. No? There you go. Let's see if I can get this out of here without screwing it up. Okay. And we're going to do this. Let's see if that's going to be too much. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your help. Yeah, I don't know about that. Might have to slide it over. That light is going to be a problem, isn't it? I always forget how I set these up. I don't do them that often. Okay, definitely better without the light. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that actually looks pretty decent. We'll start off with the American League. Where we find the Milwaukee Brewers in first place in the East, 2 games ahead of the Red Sox, 3 games ahead of the Indians. Blue Jays 7 back. Yankees 48 and 44. 9.5 back. Orioles over 500, yet 10 back. Orioles have been the disappointing team so far, as you can see over here. Milwaukee won the division at 95 wins. The Orioles 94 wins. So the Orioles have definitely underachieved to this point. Shit. There goes the other laptop, courtesy of you-know-who. Okay, let me see if I can see. But Perry has a question. When you buy the Windows game, what seasons come with it? Well, normally when you're purchasing the Windows game, you're getting the most recent season, but you can buy other seasons. Okay, why is this out of whack now all of a sudden? Oh, I did that. Hang on. I scrolled down to see Perry's question. Wonder if it'd be any better with the light on. Well, it's going to be harder for me to read. Let's see how that looks. Let me get my reading glasses. Okay, I think that light actually seems to help. I was expecting some ring light reflection, but I'm not seeing any. All right, we'll proceed this way for now. In the AL West, Kansas City Royals running away with it. Best record in the league. 12-game lead on the White Sox. The Angels, again, another underperforming team. 43-53 at this point in real life. They were 54-42 on their way to a division-winning 93 wins. They're 18 back of Kansas City. So overall, same old story here. It's been a while since I've done a broadcast. We're only talking a week's worth of games here. So the East still pretty much beating up on the West. Looking at the National League standings, we find the St. Louis Cardinals with the best record in the league. 63-34. They have an 8.5 game lead over the Pirates. 12 over the Expos. Then you have the Cubs, Phillies, and the Mets. In the West, the Dodgers have opened up a 10-game lead over the Braves. The Braves, in real life, won the division by 1 game, 89. Mookie, I'm telling you what. Yeah, I guess I need another pointer here. He's sitting on my pens. 89 Atlanta, 88 LA. Padres 51-45, 11 games back. Giants underachieving, not by that much though. They're 3 games off the real life pace. And the Reds and the Astros rounding out the division. Let's take a look at Mookie, buddy. I'm sorry, but you can't be there. Okay? You can sit on my lap. Let's take a look at one of my favorite things. Thanks to a viewer suggestion, we're going to go to the newspaper style recap. We don't need all of that. Let's go like that. Get the whole screen in there. So, yeah, back to Perry's question for a moment. I don't know if you can buy the game, let's say buy the Windows game with the 82 season. I think you have to buy the game with the current season and then buy add-ons. So the newspaper style recap, a quick glimpse of the standings, but then we have the top 5 in batting average. We find 2 Cubs at the top, Bill Buckner at 344 and Leon Bull Durham at 340. Davey Concepcion of the Reds at 336, Bill Madlock of the Pirates 332, and Cesar Cedeno of the Reds 331. Mike Schmidt leading the league in home runs with 29. I don't know which way is better with this thing. It's a bat pen. Yeah, it doesn't write anymore. It says, "Best wishes, Maury Wills." Schmidt, 29 home runs. Jason Thompson of the Pirates, 23. Pedro Guerrero of the Dodgers, 22, tied with Chili Davis of the Giants, 22. Others tied with 20. RBIs, Bo Diaz still leading the league in RBIs, the Philly catcher with 71. Thompson, Schmidt, and Durham with 67, and several tied at 66. In pitching wins, Fernando Valenzuela and Tim Lawler have 15. Joaquin Andujar with 14. Mario Soto and Scott Sanders of the Expos with 13. Bruce Sutter leading in saves with 21, despite a subpar season statistically. That's right, Perry. I remember it well. I was living in Grass Valley, California at the time. Actually, Penn Valley, but nobody knows where that is. It's close to Grass Valley. So Suter with 21 saves, Steve Howe with 19, Kent DeColvey of the Pirates with 17, Gene Garber with 13, and Greg Minton with 12. In ERA, we have Joaquin Andujar leading at 2.06, Bob Forsch, his teammate, at 2.08, Tim Lawler 2.08, Valenzuela 2.10, and Sanders 2.26. Bill Buckner has a 21-game hitting streak going currently. We'll look at longest streaks in a moment. Omar Moreno leading in steals with 47, Tim Raines 43, and Lonnie Smith, an old favorite of mine, with 41. Steve Carlton leading in strikeouts, 183, Mario Soto 168, Nolan Ryan 143, Fernando Valenzuela 137, his teammate Bob Welch 121. Let's see what else is on here. Yesterday's best performances. Who's hot, who's not? We can glance at that for a moment. One thing that just caught my eye is today's transactions. Okay, since I'm usually playing the computer game with the as played settings, the computer automatically makes these transactions. So you can see here that Atlanta just promoted Pascual Perez and sent down Ken Smith. Who's hot, who's not? Let's go over to the American League and look at the newspaper recap, where we find Willie Wilson leading the league and hitting at 355. Rich Dower of the Orioles, 338. That's kind of a surprise. Cecil Cooper, 337. Toby Harrah, 333. And Damaso Garcia of the Jays, 328. Toby Harrah leads the league and the major leagues in home runs. 30 home runs for Harrah. Reggie Jackson, and that would be Lance Parrish of the Tigers, 23. With 2 L. Parishes in the league, I get confused. Cecil Cooper and his teammate Ben Ogilvie round out the leaders with 22 home runs. Cooper leading the league in RBIs at 78. Jim Rice and Andre Thornton at 75. Doug DeCinces, 73. And there's Harrah again with 72. In pitching wins, 2 Blue Jays, Leal and Steve with 13. Len Barker has a dozen. Rich Gossage leads the league and the major leagues in saves with 24. Rollie Fingers, 21. That would be tied for the NL lead with Suter. Bill Caudle of the Mariners with 18, Dan Quisenberry 16, and Salome Barojas of the White Sox 13. There's a name from the past, Barojas. Earned run average, Jim Beattie of the Mariners 2.09, Dan Quisenberry 2.12, Dennis Eckersley 2.4, Dan Petrie 2.48, and Len Barker 2.77. Lou Whitaker, a current 12-game hitting streak. Look at the stolen bases, would you? Ricky Henderson already with 105. Oakland has played just 98 games. Henderson certainly set to shatter his own record in this replay. Garcia 55, Willie Wilson 34, Paul Molitor and Julio Cruz 33 apiece. In strikeouts, Floyd Bannister on top at 133, Len Barker 116, Ron Guidry 111, Jim Beattie 107, and Jack Morris 102. What else did I like to look at? The record book has some interesting things in it. I'm going to skim through most of this, however. That's for batters. Bear with me here. I'll find something interesting. Henderson has a pair of 5 stolen base games. That's impressive. Here we go, the game scores. A fun stat, not meant to be taken too seriously. But on May the 1st, Toby Harrah had a game score of 94. That's the best single game performance so far, according to Game Score. I'm not sure when Game Score even came about for batters. I remember reading about Game Score for pitchers in a Bill James abstract. He actually invented it. And down here at the bottom, the pitcher game scores. Ron Guidry with a 91. Medich with a 90. Doc Medich, that was a no-hitter. I remember that game. Let's jump over to the National League and see the same thing here. Mike Schmidt and Tim Wallach had 3 home run games. Let's find batter game scores. What's pitcher game score? I must have skimmed right by it. There it is. Tim Wallach on July 4th had a game score of 104. And Schmidt 102. Okay, weren't those the guys with the 3 home run games? Yes, indeed. 6-1 and 7-4. Yep, sure enough, those are your 2 best game scores. Not surprisingly. So I guess it kind of works. Pitcher game score on April 25th, Fernando Valenzuela. That was in 11 innings. The best single game score in 9 innings was Don Sutton of Houston on June 6th. Dave Stewart, surprisingly. Stewart hadn't really established himself as a frontline pitcher yet in 1982. He was a spot starter, long reliever for the Dodgers that year. Let's see what else we've got of interest. Oh yeah, I like to look at these, of course. First grand totals. Always interesting to compare the league ERAs, especially in 1982, and the American League used a designated hitter and the National League did not. So we see the National League's league ERA is 3.80. Okay, so if we go to the American League, it's 4.02, so 0.22 higher. largely the effect of the DH, I would assume. Offensively, the Red Sox are setting the pace, and they're middle of the pack in pitching. And the teams that are leading, Milwaukee, 262 average, but 472 runs. That would put them second in runs to Boston, with Kansas City in third with 470. Kansas City leading in ERA and Milwaukee in second, so no surprises there. What's wrong with the California Angels? Well, they're hitting and they're scoring 469 runs. That would be fourth in the league in runs scored. The pitching, however, has been terrible. Same set for the National League. Pirates leading in batting and runs scored. 480 runs, 463 for the Cubs. Cubs have pitching problems. It's not hard to see what's wrong with the Mets or the Reds. Why are the Braves underachieving? Well, 261 average, that is ninth in the league. They're not scoring as much as they should be. 406 runs, only four teams have scored, nope, make that five. 5 teams have scored less. So they're middle of the pack, basically, in runs scored. And middle of the pack in pitching. Dodgers pitching at a 2.96 clip. Padres in second in ERA, and the team with the best record in the league, the Cardinals, third in pitching at 3.25. Cardinals 444 runs, which is, what would that be, 2, 3... That would be fourth in the league in runs scored. Just ahead of the Dodgers, who are fifth in the league in runs scored. So the National League teams, the division leaders, I should say, in the National League, are getting there primarily based on their pitching, not scoring a ton like the Brewers and the Royals in the American League. Let's see here. Okay, league leaders. We saw the top 5 in the newspaper recap. There's Dawson, Diaz, Chambliss, Jason Thompson, Dale Murphy, Lonnie Smith, Al Oliver. Some big names from the past. I'll tell you, Al Oliver, that guy could fall out of bed and hit a line drive. I think one of the most underrated players of the era. And Lonnie Smith, while he didn't have a lot of good years, I had him on a keeper team back there. I remember he didn't play in the majors for a couple of years, and I held on to him as an uncarded player and kept telling all my buddies he'll be back. And man, did he come back. Came back with Atlanta with a vengeance. And then he hit a walk-off. I was in Las Vegas, and I had money on the Braves, and Lonnie Smith won the game with a walk-off. Well, I already liked him quite a bit prior to that, but that was incredible. Run score leaders, Thompson at 71, Dawson 67, Al Oliver 67, Ryan Sandberg and Bill Madlock round out the top 5. In the hits department, Buckner and Concepcion, not surprisingly, leading the way. Madlock, Durham, and Dawson round out the top 5. In doubles, it's Terry Kennedy, the Padre catcher, with 29. Ray Knight of Houston, 28. Dawson, Dale Berra, the Pirate shortstop, and Garvey round out the top 5. Tim Raines has 7 triples to lead the league. Quite a few players have 5. And I'll go through this kind of quickly. You can always pause this and spend all the time you want with it. Home runs, we've seen the top 5. Bob Horner and Bo Diaz tied for 6th right here with 20. Wallach, Kingman, Murphy, Madlock, Say, and Durham. We've seen the top RBI leaders. Actually, we saw the top 4 and others tied with for 5th, so that would be Madlock and Oliver, 66. 74 walks for Thompson. Mookie's right here. Lonnie Smith with 19 intentional walks. I think that card goes up in the clutch, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, let's take a look at it. Yeah, I don't use clutch in the 66 season, right, because I'm playing advanced. Let's take a look at Lonnie Smith's card. Okay, there he is. No, he actually loses one in the clutch. He loses the 3-2 single against righties, and he loses the 3-12 single against lefties. So I'm trying to think why that would be. Probably due to who's hitting behind him, I'd have to guess. Good numbers, though. How many remember Lonnie Smith? He could hit for extra bases. The man could definitely run. Not the best outfielder in the world defensively, but he was okay out there. In strikeouts, not surprising to see Dave Kingman at the top of the list, is it? Hit by pitch, Lonnie Smith has been plunked 8 times, too. There's the hitting streak. Buckner with the asterisk there, that indicates current hitting streak. This is best hitting streak of the season overall. Dawson with a 23-gamer. So Buckner trying to move ahead of Dawson there. Going to need to hit in 3 more games to do it. Slugging and on base. We find Schmidt with a 603 slugging. That's right over here. Thompson 592, Durham 567, Bo Diaz 551, Bill Madlock 543. And on base, Jason Thompson, who walked a ton that year, 446. Durham 422, Lonnie Smith 421. Smith getting on any way he can, hit by pitch, intentional walk, you name it. Cedeno 413 and Dale Murphy at 400. So that would make the OPS, another stat you got to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it's a decent way of looking at overall offensive performance. Jason Thompson, boosted by a high on-base percentage leading. Durham, Schmidt, Madlock, Murphy, and Diaz tied for the 5 spot. Sorry about that rattling around. That's where my pens are. That's the pull-out table. Okay, let's look at some pitchers. We've seen the top 5 in ERA. Charlie Lee 6th. Bill Lasky of the Giants 2.44. Ryan, Joe Niekro, Fergie Jenkins, the Count, Montefiusco, and Jerry Royce. Complete games, Steve Carlton with 10. Heck, whole staffs don't have 10 complete games. I don't think the major leagues will have 10 complete games this season. Soto, Valenzuela, and Lawler all with 9. Okay, we looked at saves and shutouts. We have a handful of pitchers with 3. I'm not going to name them all. You can pause that if you wish. Strikeouts, we saw that, right? Carlton, we saw the top 5. Strikeout to walk ratio is a stat I love in real life, not as meaningful in Strat-O-Matic. In real life, strikeout to walk ratio, a good predictor of future results. In Strat-O-Matic, the future results are already on the card, right? Okay, American League, same thing. We saw the top 5 in batting. Carrying on, we have John Wathan, the Kansas City catcher. I think Wathan played multiple positions that year. Dwight Evans, Lance Parrish, Glenn Wright of Texas, Amos Otis, another favorite of mine, Jim Rice, and Doug DeCinces. Toby Harrell leading in runs, followed by Evans, Cooper, Garcia, and Kent Urbeck. Molitor and Henderson surprisingly just missing. You would think with 105 steals he'd have more runs scored than that. Robin Yount leads in doubles with 35. Garcia and Frank White, 29. Fred Lynn and Al Cowens round out the top 5. Herndon with 13 triples. That's Larry Herndon of Detroit. I remember Herndon more with the Giants. Hal McRae has 10 triples. What are we doing there, Mookie? Home runs, we saw the top 3, I think, right? Cooper, Ogilvy, Dwight Evans, Rice, his teammate, Gorman Thomas of Milwaukee, and Doug DeCinces with 20. We saw the RBI leaders. Walks, there's Henderson again, 95 walks. Intentional walks, Bruce Bochy. That's kind of surprising, isn't it? 11 intentional walks. Harold Baines has 10. Strikeouts, another no surprise. Reggie Jackson with 104 leads the league. Okay, we saw the stolen bases. In hitting streak, Bobby Grich the longest so far at 21. Slugging and on base. Boy, that Harrah's having a fine season. Leads in slugging, second in on base. Where's my pointer? Back to slugging for a moment. Lance Parrish, Cecil Cooper, Dwight Evans, Fred Lynn round out the top 5. And an on base, Dwight Evans leading. Harrah in second. Really? What are you doing? Do you want that pen? Okay. Okay, good. We have somehow Mookie jumped leagues on me. Oh, I gotta get back to 82 AL. There we go. Where was I? Slugging and on base, right? Okay. Total bases, Harrah again. Cooper, Evans, DeCinces, and Rice round out the top 5. Let's go down to the pitchers for a minute. We saw the top 4 in wins, with several tied with 11. That's Mike Caldwell, Britt Burns, Dan Petrie, Eckersley, Bud Black, and Gaylord Perry tied with 10. Bud Black recently fired as the Rockies manager. I think Bud Black was a much better pitching coach than he was a manager, quite frankly. I'd like to see somebody pick him up in that capacity. We saw the top 5 in ERA. Just outside is Luis Leal. I remember Leal was leading the league for quite a while in the early going. Bob McClure, Pete Vukovich, Steve Trout, Dave Steve, Britt Burns, and Frank Tanana of the Rangers. Complete games. Dave Stieb leads the majors with 14 complete games. Rick Langford with a dozen. Remember, Langford was part of that Billy Ball where he just worked the hell out of his starting pitchers. Louis Leal and Len Barker also at 12 complete games, and Jim Clancy and Jack Morris with 11. Heck, I got to even mention Lamar Hoyt with 10. I think Carlton leads the National League with 10. We saw save. Shutouts, we have 4 pitchers with 3 shutouts. Eckersley, Hoyt, and then 2 Rangers, John Matlack and Doc Medich. We saw the top 5 in strikeouts. Coming in 6th, Moose Hawes with 98. You've got Dave Righetti, Brad Havens of the Twins, Eckersley, Denny. That's John Denny of Cleveland, who I remember more with St. Louis. Britt Burns and John Tudor. I'm guessing that was early in Tudor's career. Could be wrong about that. Look at Moose Hawes strike out to walk. Wow. So I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to see in these stat updates. Please post it in the comments. That's about all I can think of. That's true, Perry. He was a beast offensively, wasn't he? Well, I know one thing I was going to do. I was going to look at a team. Let's look at Atlanta. They're underachieving. This could be interesting. Also showing off some of the other stats that the Windows game provides. Absolutely dominant record at home. This team cannot win on the road. Then we can look at the whole team here. There's all their hitters. Fun to look at some of the part-time players like Biff Pocoroba, batting .329 in 73 at-bats. Chambliss having a nice year. Nothing wrong with Murphy's numbers. Ken Smith, just 26 at-bats. Bruce Benedict, the primary catcher. Bob Watson, I'm guessing with only 50 at-bats. Watson was in the twilight of his career. Claudell Washington's underachieving a bit. There's Brett Butler, 247. Although Washington is second on the team in runs scored to Murphy. And has 13 home runs. Bob Horner hitting only 242, but leads the team in homers with 20. But again, hitting not really the problem, is it? It's the pitching. Garber's been fine as the closer. 8-1 with 13 saves and a 1.3. You can't complain about that at all. Joe Cowley, who I vaguely remember. Looks like spot starter, long reliever. Phil Niekro and Bob Watt could be doing quite a bit better. Rick Camp could be doing better. Rick Mailer having a subpar season. Bedrosian has not been good at all. Ken Daly has not been very good. The rest of these guys have been a nightmare. Well, Diaz has only been in 9 games. Hrabowski's been awful, despite the 3-0 record, and Hanna's been even worse. That's Preston Hanna, in case you don't remember. So yeah, that could be fun. Maybe there's a team you would like to look at like this, a little more in depth. Or maybe you'd like to see where this goofy cat is right now. Yeah, he's right in between the two computers. Oh dear, that doesn't come through too well, does it? See, I could have... Mookie... I should have slid that over. Like so. I'll have to remember that next time. Well, unless, Perry, if you have anything to add. I show only 4 watching right now, which is fairly typical for the stats replay since they're not pre-announced. And I find most people watch this later. I'll be back in a couple of hours with today's 1966 game. So I'm going to blast off for now. And I'll see you all later on. Hope you enjoyed the 1982 stats update. Spokane Steve saying catch you later.